Well, hello, everyone. The recording is in progress. That's the official start to the Michigan Climate Action Network reveal of our 5-year strategic plan. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone that is interested in the future of the Michigan Climate Action Network. For those of you that don't know me yet, my name is Denise Keel. I'm the new director of Michigan Climate Action Network, and you're going to meet the full team in just a moment. And I want to thank everyone for coming and for all those listening and that may be watching this recording later. There's a lot of reasons why we decided we really needed to do some strategic planning. And actually, this had been in the works for quite a bit leading up to this moment. Of course, we have a lot of internal changes. We have a mostly new team, a new director, and frankly, we have a new climate movement. We have a state My Healthy Climate Plan. We have federal funding. And as of last week, we may even have a pro-climate majority in the legislature. These are things that we've never seen before. And so we really wanted to take the time to think through and refocus our activities. And what you're going to see today is the overview, the final stages of a really intense process that included so many of you over the last few months. We're ready to share our mutual future with you because we know you're here because you're invested in how we do this work together. I want to talk just a second about the approach and intent and sort of use of this plan and the things you're going to see and hear today. This plan is very high-level mission and strategies. It is meant to be a direction, a vision, an inspiration. It's ambitious. What this plan is not, we are not thinking of this as something to sit on a shelf, some prescription that we're beholden to. It's not a set of campaign priorities either. We're really showing you our behind the scenes, all of the things and initiatives that we feel like are necessary to ground us in what we want to achieve and how we will get there. And please know the team will be taking all the next steps to continue to prioritize what's in here, to work it, to shape it, to hone it. Again, this is our 5-year vision, and we are going to be working to build out our 1-year and 3-year interim steps while we continuously learn from all of you as we do this work together. But at this point, we felt like we were ready enough to show you our big picture. We want to be completely transparent and accessible in all of our thinking, and we're ready to show you this consensus developed plan with many partners around the state that helped us get here, while knowing, again, that it's going to remain adaptive and flexible. I hope you're ready for a big picture vision. Go ahead. Let's introduce some folks. So you've heard enough already, and we'll hear even more from me, former farmer, forester, and policy professor. And now it is my great pleasure to be the network director. And I am based in Kalamazoo. And I will introduce also someone who can't be with us here today, Ashley Soltishek, who is the Climate and Environment Program Director at Groundwork Center for Resilient Communities, which is MiCAN's home, providing our administrative and strategic support. Who wants to go next, team?
I'll jump in. Then maybe we'll just go in line, take off some of the pressure jumping in. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Simmons. I know a good bulk of the folks on the call. Good to see everyone here. It's 76 people in the room for those who can't see it. So it's a really great turnout. I'm based in Ann Arbor, and of course, as most of you know, I have a social work background, and I've been with MiCAN for almost 2 years now. Excited to see where we're growing and to get some of your feedback on our direction. So, Serena.
Hi, everyone. I am Serena Amder, and I am the social media specialist for MiCAN, as well as for the Groundwork Center for Resilient Communities. And I have been with the two organizations for just over, or as of tomorrow, 6 months. And I am based in Traverse City, Michigan. So I'm kind of our northernmost representative of the MiCAN team as of now. And then I'll pass it to Colleen.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Colleen Adi, and I am our communications specialist here at MiCAN. I'm the newest face here, so I'm actually currently in Chicago, where it's also snowing. But I am originally from northern Michigan, so right near Traverse City in a teeny little town called Keewaydin. And I'm very happy to have joined this team and be with you all.
What a wonderful team that we have assembled here that has done so much work to get this plan across the finish line and share it with all of you today. So what do we hope to accomplish today? We've got this broken out into some sections. The first thing that we want to review with everyone is a little bit of where Michigan Climate Action Network has been. What are our roots? What have we already done in our impact that we can build upon? And then we're going to review our existing mission and vision statements, and then go through some of the qualitative and quantitative results from the member survey that so many of you took over the summer, and our engagement and talking with you and filling out the survey. So we wanted to make sure that we shared some of those results with you and how those results helped inform the overall plan that we ended up developing. And then we'll share our plan foundation, that mission and vision statements. And then we have 6 must-do strategies that we will be going through with you today. So let's get started. This plan backdrop, this section of the presentation will cover a little bit of our organizational background and overview, our existing mission, and those member survey results.
Hey everyone, so to kick us off, of course, who is MiCAN? So MiCAN was, as many of you know, and some of our founders are on this call, was founded over 5 years ago by Kate Madigan and Tom Porter, Jim Lively, and some other climate activists across the state. It's a ongoing folktale that, well, I don't know if it's a folktale. It's hard to confirm that MiCAN was started on a bus to Washington, D.C., because a lot of people were just like, hey, this is great that we're going to this climate protest in D.C. We should have stuff like this in Michigan. And back then, there wasn't a lot of people talking about climate, and people were actually kind of afraid to talk about climate because of the negative connotation that it would come with it, because people thought climate had to do with tree hugging and non-scientific things. But as we know, that's not true, even though a couple of us do love to hug the trees. And yeah, since then we have grown. It was originally housed at MEC and now is housed and is thriving at the Groundwork Center's Resilience in Traverse City. And since then also we've done a lot of great things as a network. We are founders of the Climate Action Summit, which has grown into the Climate and Clean Energy Summit, in which we partnership with Groundwork and other community partners. And MiCAN has also become one of the first, or well, at the time of our establishment, we were one of the first organizations to really talk about climate blatantly and boldly. So we do take a lot of pride of helping the movement become more mainstream across the state and even within the region. Some of our previous work has kind of come through like this 3-pronged model of really focusing on building and mobilizing to make a stronger climate movement in Michigan. And of course, making climate a top priority and a top issue in our communities, in our legislative, in our media. MiCAN has been a huge advocate for that. And of course, all of that comes off the backs of a lot of local work. So uplifting and amplifying that local work is equally important to what MiCAN has done and will do in the future. And that also fueled our transitioning out of mission statements of Climate Action Network, connecting and amplifying individuals, communities, and organizations confronting the climate crisis, and then supporting them in advancing equitable climate solutions with the urgency science demands. A lot of the work that we have done has been rooted in science, because we know as people push back, it's better to push back with facts. So that is kind of a little bit backstory of who we are and how we kind of got into this work and came to be. Next slide. So MiCAN vision. A lot of people on this call probably had a hand in this vision statement. It was cultivated by a lot of a big group of our leaders across the state and some of our really impactful organizations across Michigan. And the real gist of this vision statement is that MiCAN envisions a future for the state with 100% clean, renewable, affordable energy for all. That we're cultivating an environment and a movement that really centers people thriving and being able to live in sustainable homes, having sustainable jobs, and have a sustainable life that's centered in resiliency, that's kind of backed by policy, of course, and community supports, which a lot of our organizations that are a part of our network offer. We, as a network, have organizations, and I saw someone already put a question in the chat that talked about, hey, could you list off all the organizations that you have a part in you? And it's like 70, over 76. So that's going to be hard to do in just a few seconds. But we do have that list on our website. So definitely feel free to jump that in. But MiCAN really realizes that the climate movement needs to expand and needs to quickly do that and do it in a more equitable way. So over the last year or so, we've really been transitioning to center equity and justice and make sure that everything we do and advocate for pushes against the false solutions that some fossil fuel companies would love for us to advocate for. But since MiCAN has a very unique stance and position in this movement of not necessarily working with certain partners in the past, it's something that we ground ourselves in, that we can advocate for the real solutions, the true solutions alongside our partners who might not have always been included at the table. So that's a huge part of our work. And of course, we couldn't do this without our partners across and our coalition partners and tables that we're a part of, like MAGIC, Michigan Alliance for Justice and Climate, the Build Back Better Coalition that we were a part of last year, MEMJ, the EJ Caucus, and Midwest Build in Decarb, and of course, all of our other partners that we continue to do work with right now and in the future that also help collaborate and establish this plan that we're presenting for you today. So I'm excited to talk about some of the steps forward from where we are to where we're going. So back to you, Denise.
Great, thanks for that. As our longest serving member, Jamie often holds a lot of the historical institutional knowledge, and we rely on her skills and expertise in that coalition building greatly. So what we've been doing, so I came on June 1st, about 5 months ago, and what we did was we calling it the Summer of Engagement. As our first order of business was to get out there, meet all of you, listen, learn, heal, build new relationships. We met with about 40 groups, and I think my list is over 200 actual individuals that I spoke with or our team spoke with at some point over the summer. We transitioned that into the quantitative survey that y'all took for us. Thank you so much. And then we had a couple listening sessions with members as well. And the graphic there is of some of the logos of just some of the folks we met with this summer. And what was interesting to me is we met with lots of different existing members and new partners. Was some of the folks who reached out to meet with us weren't members of MiCAN yet, or the group wasn't even a member yet. So one thing that we're trying to do in this plan is create a structure that allows a real on-ramp, a real way for us to actually be doing that connecting of the vision piece. So what we heard over the summer in that summer of engagement, sort of the qualitative takeaways from the many conversations, and thank you all for inviting us out. It was a great pleasure to travel around and to see all of you and what you're all doing already. And what I heard from those conversations is your impression of MiCAN, the reputation is really strong. And that also we probably present a little bit bigger than we are, which is why I wanted to just see the 4 people that are behind most of this work on the screen today. It's 4 of us trying to do all of this work. You talked a lot about the summit, which of course we're very well known for and have been doing that for 4 years now. You talked about the My Healthy Climate Plan and being able to have those ready-made comments and pieces ready for you to take action with. We heard about justice over and over as one of the primary principles that we have to have. This is not just a climate crisis. This is a democracy and justice crisis, and how everyone wants to be part of that kind of work. We heard a lot more about local and bottom-up grassroots support, how we were going to be connecting with each other, how we were going to align campaigns and build the trust in order to do so. We also heard a lot about focusing on youth, and developing leaders was a key theme as we can try to continue to show success around the state. I think you'll see many of those kind of qualitative conversations that we were able to have. I think you'll see a lot of them ended up in the plan that we developed for you. whenever I talk about the surveys or engagement and how we reach people, it's really important for me that everyone understands the nature of our actual audience. And one of the things that MiCAN got really right, even way before the pandemic, was to invest in digital communications. And so I'd like our communications specialists and social media specialists to take over here for a second and just talk a little bit about what we mean when we talk about the network or our audience or our reach. So go ahead, Colleen, Serena.
Sure. So the Michigan Climate Action Network has an email list of more than 6,000 subscribers, which is something that we hope to exponentially grow as part of this plan, so that it's in more accordance with our wide social media following. The good news is that those of you who are on that list are very engaged with the messaging that we share around climate. We have an open rate of 25, almost 26%, which is above average for nonprofits and much better than most industries. So that's certainly something that we hope to maintain and continue to nurture in the next several years. And Serena, I'll let you speak to our demographics across our social platforms.
Sure, thanks, Colleen. Yeah, so at MiCAN, we have strategically built our social media presence to try to have one of the largest social media audiences out of any group in Michigan. And right now we reach over 100,000 people each month between our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, while also keeping people informed with our emails. So here I have listed, I think this is as of Sunday, our following counts, as well as some basic demographics. And it's really interesting, at least for me, to see the pretty big differences in the demographics between each different platform, which really then informs us about how we engage with those communities. So Facebook, as of now, is our largest platform, and we have 23.9 thousand followers. The largest city that is representative of those followers is 4% come from Detroit. And then 29% of that audience is aged 65 or older, and then 70% of that audience is female. On Twitter, we have just over 1,000 followers, and we don't get very many demographics off of that audience based off of that platform. But Instagram, we have nearly 2,000 followers, with the largest city being 7% coming from Grand Rapids. 39% of the audience is between the ages of 25 to 34. And then 68% of the audience is female. And lastly, our newest platform is TikTok, where we now have 1,600-ish followers. And you can see one big difference here is that the largest city is 39% Detroit. So compared to the other demographics we have, we can see that TikTok is likely a much more urban audience because such a large double-digit percentage comes from Detroit. And then 34% of that audience is age 25 to 34. I'm pretty sure it was like 32% is that 18 to 24 range. So TikTok is also our youngest audience, and then it's 71% female. So all of those, all our platforms average about 70% female.
We understand those age demographics, some of us at least on this Zoom do, and I have to give a huge shout out. We did not have TikTok before Miss Serena Amdor started that for us, and so everything you see there in that growth is all because of her and these amazing videos. And if you're not on any of our platforms, I encourage you to get out there, if only to see Serena's videos on TikTok. It is well worth it. So let's get into some of that survey. So thank you again to everyone who filled out the survey. We really appreciated your honest feedback. This is, again, a moment where we can take stock, we can figure out and refocus our priorities. And the big two questions that we asked everyone was how well we were delivering on our current mission and how well we were serving our members. And the top graphic there of how well MiCAN is delivering its mission is pretty good, right? Over half, 54.5% of participants rated us at a 4 or 5 stars for delivering on our current mission. However, 15% are putting us at 1 to 2 stars, so some unhappy members out there, and we've got a big middle to get to that plurality, right? 30% of y'all are ranking us as adequate. And we're doing less well on serving our members. When we asked y'all how we're doing in serving you, we kind of expected this, I think. We know we haven't been convening regular member meetings in a while, at least not yet. And we haven't, in this transition for at least almost the last 10 months, haven't offered a lot of trainings or webinars. We know that we can do better in this category. And again, I hope this is something that you'll see us really addressing in our plan, not dictating exactly what we should be doing, but really trying to follow through with some better ways that we think that we can do internally in order to serve this network much, much better. If anyone wanted to add to that, otherwise take it away, Jamie.
Great. We're seeing some good partners in the chat. I was just keeping everyone just doing introductions. It's always nice to see a turnout. And just in case anyone's interested, we're now at 89 participants. So, of course, as Denise said, this is off the survey results that from the survey we launched earlier this year. And the poll of folks was our entire network. And one questions we asked everyone is, of the values statements below, what are the top 3 reasons you or your organization continue to participate in MiCAN? And the biggest thing, as you can see, that big dark blue tower, was having access to trusted information about climate action, strategies, policies, intelligence models, and solutions. So a lot of folks look to MiCAN to be sharing out or some kind of way showcasing the trusted and real information about what's going on with climate in the state, the policies and strategies other folks in the state are doing to kind of advance on climate action. And an example of that is the cities report that we launched in January, which really gave a few different case studies of how different cities across the state have advanced in climate resolutions for their city and county. Another thing that we, of course, asked everyone is, which of the following skills trainings would you or your organization be interested in attending? Folks were very, very interested in talk for us to help officially talk about climate change. And of course, that being how MiCAN was founded and grounded in, folks continue to look at us for that climate change talking points and toolkits, and just helping communicate better about the work that they're doing, how to get engaged in climate work, and of course, how to uplift the work that's happening in the state and media, because media is very important. Next slide. Some more things that we ask, of course, is like, what are we delivering well in? Of course, our summits is what we're known for. Everyone loves the Climate and Clean Energy Summit. It has definitely grown and is continuing to grow throughout over the years. It also has grown in things that we center. This past year was very much centered in equity and justice. And some of the feedback that we actually got from that summit is that it was healing and that it was forward thinking, and it helped a lot of people across the line come together and start thinking critically about a positive climate future, which now, because of how last week and the weeks have turned out for us in the political realm, is a true possibility. And of course, what we're delivering pretty well at is pushing climate action further. Folks think 36% of folks suggested that, or said that we are pushing climate further. One thing that I'm pretty sure a lot of folks are noticing is that there is a lot of would like to see more. Being a network of serving over 76 organizations, over 6,000 people, there's always room for us to be kind of growing and expanding. So this kind of feedback definitely gave us a lot of things to think about within our strategic planning, to say the very least. Going into something that you'll see as a pretty common theme over the rest of our presentation is that folks, 33.87% wanted more building capacity, attending for MiCAN to be more kind of involved with folks, be more tapped in, be more informed, which helps when we're thinking about amplifying and connecting folks, being at the table, and of course, connecting organizations to people, offering network opportunities. These are things that people want from MiCAN and that we are strategically trying to do better on, and will be doing better, especially with your guidance and your and with the guidance of course, our advisory team. Something else that we definitely have some work to be doing is providing opportunities to meet with lawmakers, sharing policies and expertise, hosting issue briefings. So a lot of people want to know exactly what's going on in politics. And since MiCAN has been the platform, we are the biggest climate platform in Michigan, it just seems only right that we helped cultivate some of those spaces. So when we are thinking, and as we talk about some things that we have established that we're fighting for and going to establish more within our work of the next 5, 10, 20 years, and of course 1 to 3 years once we get our plan there, figuring out how to bridge the gap of local folks and grassroots folks and people within our network to actually talk to lawmakers and get their voices heard in policy and in the community. I think that's something a lot of our network folks are advocating for. So those are just some of the survey results that we had to show you today. Denise?
Yeah, and so the final survey result that I want to share with everyone is it's going to look bleak, but this is going to show you exactly why we focused on what we did in our strategic planning. So we asked in the survey how involved you've been with the Michigan Climate Action Network. And you'll see only a little over 5% are in the blue category of very involved, green moderately involved at 27%, which leaves a huge category, almost 30% not involved in yellow, 38% barely involved in the red. And when we also asked this question to see about some of the demographics, and only a small portion, about 8% of the folks who responded to the survey identified as BIPOC. So we know that it needs a lot of work. And don't worry, we're not blaming you. We think about this as our job. It is our job in the network to make it easy for you to participate, to align the network with justice principles. We know that you are concerned about climate change, and we take our role in connecting you with the network to take that action very seriously. And so we think it's on us to help everyone close what social scientists call the attitude behavior gap and motivate all of us toward collective action, toward the cultural transformation that we know that we need. And don't worry, you're not alone, right? It's hard to do this work, and it takes time and energy and resources by so many of us. You're not alone in this attitude behavior gap. When we look at the national results from the good folks at the Yale Program on Climate Change Communication, we find the same thing happening. Record high numbers of Michiganders, 72%, believe global warming is happening, yet only about a half of us perceive a social norm to take action. Only about a third of us even occasionally talk about the issue or hear about it in the media. To be successful, we must build a more inclusive and active, powerful climate movement. Those of you that are old enough like me have seen this before, when 10% of the United States population was activated on the first Earth Day and ushered in all the major bedrock policies we now rely on. Social science research indicates that movements that activate 3.5% of the population have never failed. So while we're always working to build the movement, we know now that we must have a more focused vision of the intentional voices that we uplift and in our role of really providing those network services. And so that's what you're going to see the rest of this presentation and plan is really focused on. Movement building. How can we best position ourselves to serve and connect all of you? All right, so in this next section of the plan, we're really going to talk through how we got here. Again, we took all of the summer of engagement, all of the listening sessions that we did with all of you, those quantitative survey results, and we brought them all to a 2-day intensive process, a hybrid version, sessions in Lansing and online, where we went through all those documents, all that history. We had homework even, the survey, and we produced this particular plan. And just a big shout out to our current steering committee, Blue Green Alliance, Michigan League of Conservation Voters, Porter Family Foundation, Michigan Environmental Council, City of Ann Arbor, West Michigan Environmental Action Council, been on the steering committee for years, have really helped us hone through this plan. And then we realized we really work with so many other partners that weren't even on our steering committee that we needed to invite them to help us manage all of your great input and come up with a really great plan about how we would organize ourselves. So we also invited our partners from Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition, Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition, and Sierra Club to join us in these intensive sessions in Lansing. All of these folks work together to create what you're going to see next, which is first we started with a vision for the climate movement. Now, this is not a prescription for the movement as a whole, right? This was a vision exercise that we all did just so we could set MiCAN in the place of the vision of the future that we wanted to see. So we're not trying to speak for the whole climate movement here, but we think it's a pretty nice vision. And maybe you'll agree what we wanted to see in 20 years, like what would it look like? What would we want this state to really be? And you'll see us really focusing on this idea of equitable climate solutions, but also again, as a movement builder, what we're trying to do is make sure that we have achieved that durable, diverse public support for a just transition. So there's just no way that anyone is going to be able to deny that this is the changes that we need to make. We want to make that durable cultural shift so that climate action is just the right thing to do. It's the social norm. And the way we'll get there is by cultivating this well-trained, well-coordinated network. That is truly our role. If we do that well, we think we will have met or exceeded the climate mitigation targets that are in the My Healthy Climate Plan, which gets us to carbon neutral by 2050. We hope even sooner. And we will have also dealt with the environmental justice issues and made those disparities that we currently see in environmental burdens. We want to make sure that those are reduced, if not vanquished, in 20 years. Go ahead. So that's what we started with. And then we said, well, where does MiCAN even fit? If we think about nonprofits or interest groups in this advocacy space, what are some of the key roles? And are they ones MiCAN wants to keep or needs to reduce? And we absolutely see ourselves again as movement building over any specific policy advocacy. Issue focus is specific on climate. There are so many great groups that work on water and biodiversity and species and other very important environmental issues. We're the climate folks. Our audience has mostly been grass tops, meaning those high-level decision-making legislators and leaders and kind of bigger groups. And this is one where we'd like to move that slider a little bit and make sure that we're also representing our grassroots, the individual members of MiCAN. We aim to continue to stay as a network structure, meaning, we're not just an internal team that gets to make all the decisions. We are a member organization. We need to know where you want to take the climate movement, and that's what we hope to convene and align. And of course, we want to stay at that state level and local level focus. Again, so many great groups doing federal work. We have a real niche, we believe, at the state level, working on movement building on climate. We are the Michigan Climate Action Network. Go ahead. So that you'll see our former mission, the existing mission at the top there, and we can just peel that piece of paper right off and unveil our new mission. And let me just walk you through, a couple of the changes that we see in this mission. And that is, we kind of put the words in order first. So the Michigan Climate Action Network is going to first amplify what y'all are doing, then connect us, and then we think we'll be able to actually support each other in this work. Who is the who? We've broadened that to be all people, organizations, and communities. And we've tried to move this messaging to balance the urgency of addressing climate change with the need to move at the speed of trust and to make sure that we are inclusive and also have a little hope. And so the end of our new mission statement says we are the communities and folks that are demanding urgent, bold, equitable solutions for a just transition to a resilient future. So that is our new mission. Go ahead. What we did then was talk through what we thought the visions for impact could be. And we did this in a 5-year and 20-year version. So this is a 5-year strategic plan, but we needed to be thinking about, especially with climate, where we would be in 20 years if we truly are going to address these solutions. So we, again, are leaning into the idea that we will be a megaphone for climate action. Our supporting role in these next 5 years is connecting and convening those climate leaders. And we hope that that impact in 5 years is an empowered movement, advancing the goals of the current My Healthy Climate Plan. In 20 years, we hope that's changed a little bit and that we're then just a core hub and we're still being that megaphone, but by then we will have again achieved this durable, widespread citizen support. And we won't be just advancing, we will have achieved those equitable climate solutions. And then I'll do a little deep dive into both of these. Again, you can read, there's a lot of words in a plan. You can read all of this online, but I wanted to show you just a little bit of the deep dive into where we hope to be in 5 years. Again, the megaphone of the climate movement. Why? Because we know that storytelling is just as important as some of the scientific information that we need to be conveying. And we want to be amplifying the collective call for bold climate action and lifting up the people, organizations, and communities that are leading on real, equitable climate solutions that put Michigan on track to meet or exceed those My Healthy Climate goals. You'll see communications. Again, your survey results told us that you want to be able to rely on us for trusted information. That should be the first thing that we're able to be a clearinghouse for, and that you needed more skills training on how we even talk about climate change. That, coupled with our already powerful audience and network, made it pretty easy for the planning committee to achieve consensus on this primary role of MiCAN being that megaphone in service to the climate community. To support that, we envision local to state. Y'all love our summit. We think that we could be doing some other regional events that build up to that annual summit. And if you were listening earlier to this 3.5% rule, if we're approximately 10 million folks in Michigan, we need 350,000 of them to meet that 3.5% rule. And we think we can do that across all of our partners. We don't think you should only join MiCAN. We think you should be a member of several organizations so that we can work together towards that collective action. How we will work together is very important to us, and we want to reinforce a collaborative approach in our vision. And we know that we need to be recruiting more diverse staff and board. And by diversity, so just so you know, whenever we use that term in these talks, we imply a wide range of characteristics, not limited to race, gender, educational background, geographic location, socioeconomic status is what we mean when we talk about diversity. That 20-year deep dive is next. I love what's in the actual plan. The first line out of this says, we will in 20 years have been a model for movement building. I don't think we truly know how to do this with all the new challenges and all the new opportunities that await us. We really need to know how we build a true inclusive and action-oriented movement. And that's what we are overall focused on doing. In 20 years, we should hit that 10% of Michiganders and be at 1 million individuals. And again, be a model for how we can emphasize collaboration over competition and ensure that network is going to be holding all of us accountable to those durable cultural shifts. Okay, if we put those together, you're starting to see a plan. So that is just a little recap here. We've got the mission, our new mission. We've got a 5-year and a 20-year, and we've got 6 different operating strategies. So overall, there are 6 primary strategies, and here are the sort of long form of each one. For communications, this team is going to invest in cutting edge communication so that we can spotlight all of your work. We know we got to work on an operating model to understand this MiCAN membership. And how do we do that in a way that promotes collaboration and our shared investment of time so that we can make decisions together about what's important to work on? We know that we're going to need to do grassroots mobilization. Again, that's the one slider that we need to do better on in our individuals and grassroots organizations, connecting into the movement. And then we've got our grass tops organization, the decision makers, the other big groups. How do we really utilize and leverage our partners to build that power? Our financial stability, we think we can not only grow to 1 million folks, but 7 figures in our budget as well. And again, continue to grow the diversity of our staff and any structure that we create to guide this organization. Now we're going to go by one. I think communications is up.
All right, thanks, Denise. Yes, we are very excited about the consensus that we reached around positioning MiCAN as the statewide comms shop, sort of, for all things climate in Michigan. So as a membership organization, it's very important to us that we are amplifying the work that all of you are doing through our own platforms to activate the masses and draw people to your events and your news, as you've already heard. And then the other piece of that is offering resources that will also make your work easier. So some tangible pieces that we have already been envisioning to that end would be an upgraded website with just really easy to use submission processes so that you can share everything that you have going on with us. And then as well as suites of shared guides and toolkits, templates that you could just take and run with on your own. I think all in all, for our communications platform, we kind of want to be that support system that you can fall back on so that we don't start to get exhausted in the fight for climate. We want to be there as a resource for you. And I know that that's also something that Serena is very passionate about in our comms work too. So I will hand it over so she can articulate her thoughts as well.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to note is for the rest of these, for these 6 initiatives, the pictures that you see here are from our Lansing section, or sessions that we had a couple months ago. So just so you can get a sense of like the energy in that room as we were creating this plan together. But yes, for me, especially that point of building and sharing expertise on effective climate communications, I personally have some background in environmental psychology and that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited to kind of go into those social sciences a little bit more and position ourselves as a source of knowledge, hopefully, on topics like that, of how we can communicate about the climate most effectively. And another point on here I want to touch is the digital cohort, because that might not make sense to people, just those words alone. So that's essentially a fellowship program that was run once in the past. So we're trying to revive it or revamp it also. And it's an opportunity to take those that are interested in climate communications, and for a couple of weeks, we'll have webinars and trainings to help them learn how to effectively communicate the climate topics, usually in social media and other digital platforms. That can also help us then really increase the diversity of some of the stories that can be told and the perspectives that we may have on the MiCAN page itself and in the movement as a whole. So I'll move it on to our operating model and hand it back to Denise.
Great. Yeah, I get all the fun ones, as you can see. Things like operating model are what directors get to do, apparently. So currently, right, we don't have a defined way that all of you as members or member organizations would even help us develop those campaign priorities or share in the alignment of policy goals or what we're even doing. And so we have a lot of work to do here in figuring out ways that work for all of us and you, all of our trusted members, that are collaborative, are democratic, follow the Hermes principles, are reciprocal in how we develop shared priorities, how we return services, what kind of on-ramp we provide to our new members and new organizations. And we're looking at lots of consistent and open feedback loops. We intend to do that survey every year. We intend to have those regional events that lead up to our annual summit, and to create some space at those events for members and member groups to talk through the issues that they're having, the solutions that they need us to amplify, all the while continuing to keep that critical eye on DEI expertise and that model for true inclusivity. Go ahead. And I think Jamie's going to take these.
Yes. So, sorry, I have a lot of pop-ups on my screen right now. Another thing that, of course, is one of those tiers is thinking about grassroots mobilization. If you can remember that sliding scales diagram that Denise went over earlier, we want to move less from the grass tops to more central grassroots grass top focus. A part of that is radically expanding MiCAN's reach and recognition amongst Michiganders interested in climate justice and connecting individuals with the tools and organizations that will help invoke action. That's a big part of making anything move, of continuing any movement, is having actual day-to-day folks buy in. So we really want MiCAN to be the place folks come to for that education, that involvement, and of course to get connected to their local organizations that are a part of our network, and to really tap into that work. Next slide. And a part of that, which is, again, kind of thinking about these as their grass tops and grassroots are different, but we're trying to service both within our network. And the big part of centering the grass top organizing within our new strategic model is orienting MiCAN's group membership program with organizations toward active partnerships that build power for climate movement overall. These initiatives really think about mapping and growing membership, defining and communicating the model, engagement plans, communications, and of course, joint engagement opportunities. Even though we'll be really seeing ourselves and moving as a comm shop, it's important that everything that we do is in partnership with something that's happening on the ground with our partners. So that's a huge part of the work that we're pushing forward, to make sure everything we do is collaborative. So again, we can equally engage grass top organizers and grassroots organizers, because we need both of them in the movement to move policy and our climate action goals forward.
Just a few things to do. So it's nice to get here to financial stability. Again, this is a fun one, right? Expand our reach with climate funders who care about Michigan, grow that revenue to 7 figures. If you're out there, we got a huge donate button on our website that's ready for you. And we're already checking something off the list, which I love. The first bullet here of our initiatives is to start pitching the plan. Well, here we are pitching this plan to all of you to start to get your first responses of our direction that we're taking. And you will see over the next 5 weeks, we're going to package these pieces out and deliver them in your inboxes, so you can keep investigating this plan again as we continue to figure out what our near-term 1-year and 3-year goals are going to be at this of our 5-year total plan. We got to do some more work to crystallize our story and that value proposition. Right there is Hans Voss, the Executive Director of Groundwork Center for Resilient Communities, in that picture, creating a funding committee. This is a wonderful idea that I know he's going to help MiCAN with, and beyond that committee. If you're a person that wants to come help us with those kinds of things, we invite you to do that. We also think we can think about the summit with sponsorships, and for members and sponsors who can pay, we feel like we need to do a better job of making that happen. And I'm excited to use some of that academic social science background and start to research and test some of the different ways we can use this new communications capacity we're going to be developing in order to raise more money. For example, we could be doing some poll testing, we could be doing message testing, we could be doing audience segmentation. And so there's a lot of pieces as we continue to crystallize this vision that we're going to be thinking about in order to make our own movement financially sustainable. Go ahead. And last but not least on our 6 tiers of must-do strategies is to turn our attention to our own staff and board and to grow that representational diversity, as well as its efficacy and power. So we are hoping that we're going to be able to grow our team. Again, we are small but mighty is how we think about ourselves, but do know when we're talking about this plan or you want MiCAN to do something with you, that these are the 4 people that you're asking to do something on a daily basis. And we are people, and we want to support each other as well. We hope that we can be diversifying that team as well. And we're going to, again, through that operating model, really be talking with all of you about ways to build the member and individual grassroots, grass tops, as Jamie was explaining, build those voices into our decision-making model. And I'm not sure how that's going to work out right now, right? Remember, I told you at the start of this webinar that we are going to stay adaptive and flexible. So there's going to be some things that we're still building this plane as we're flying it, as they say, and we're going to need your help as we support each other into a real democratic model of how we make decisions to move all of our mutual goals forward. So those are our 6 strategies. And so I think the next slide is a recap here to show us again, this is our 5-year, the core of our plan. Our new mission statement is to amplify, connect, and support the people, organizations, and communities demanding urgent, bold, equitable solutions for a just transition to a resilient future. In the next 5 years, we hope to have that megaphone operating loudly to connect and convene y'all and have an empowered movement in place advancing that plan, which will lead us to 20 years when we're a central hub. MiCAN has connected those leaders. We're working together. We're just a switchboard telling the actors where we need to put our emphasis. And we've achieved that durable movement and those cultural transformations that we talked about with the vision for the overall climate movement. We do that through these 6 must-do strategies. I think we've got good time here. At this point, I want the team to, if they would, share what maybe in the plan they are most excited to move forward. And I don't know if anybody, Serena had one. I know Serena has one.
I do have one. So what I am most excited about kind of falls somewhat in comms and somewhat in grassroots mobilization when we're thinking about how we're communicating about climate and then how we're supporting the individuals that are part of this movement. So the thing that I'm most excited about is fostering community and culture, and one that is grounded in moving away from climate anxiety and towards an ability to radically imagine a better future, feel hopeful, and take bold, actionable steps towards achieving that future, both for all of us individually and as well by holding our community members and governments accountable.
Beautiful. Huh? Colleen, Jamie, did you have something you wanted to share that you're most excited about in this overview of the plan today?
Sure, I'll follow that up as another fellow comms person. I think I would say I'm most excited about advancing MiCAN's brand identity, making sure that we are recognizable and a trusted source on the climate movement in Michigan. And especially important to me would be maintaining a brand voice that is inviting to everybody. It's unifying, solutions oriented, and then also just restorative for all of us who are doing this work. Jamie, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, very quickly, I'll just say, let's find a better way to help uplift and amplify the work of what's going on in climate in Michigan. I think a lot of folks aren't fortunate enough to have a great comms team and have a way to share out and get information. So be in that place to help support folks and help more organizations and people collaborate across the state.
Yeah, aren't they amazing? A huge shout out to this amazing team and all of the work that they have done to help put this together. And now we're the ones that get to implement this, right? So maybe a quick look at our next steps as we try to move forward. So Implementing this plan, again, this was, again, I know, very big picture, lots of big vision, mission, these operating must-do kind of strategies. This is how we can work together. Again, it's really important to us that we do this right, that we do this in a collaborative, trust-building way. And so we do see this plan as again, not something that's going to sit on a shelf and just dictate what we do, but instead is going to be flexible and adaptive. This is a working, living document. And over this next year, we're going to be working on those near-term goals, how we get to the 1 year, what we should, that's next week's agenda, is what are we going to do this year, right, team? And then 3 years from now. And if you read through the whole document, there are measures for success in there as well, right? So there are our overall mission and vision. There are these 6 must-do strategies. And for each one of those, they do have measures of success. They're not the most well-defined measures of success. So we know we need to do a little bit more work in thinking through how we're going to have some metrics and say what we've been able to do together. But again, a huge focus is how we're going to do this work together in a mutually supportive environment to build and repair those relationships. We then expect to review this plan once a year. We'll do that internally, but we'll also do that annually in a few ways with all of you. Again, at our annual summit, we hope to be convening member groups in sessions so that we can talk about those policies that we need and have some campaign alignment. We expect to do that survey version of it so that we can track our progress and your input every year. As well as doing our own internal audit of our own work. So those are kind of the things that we're going to be doing next to implement this plan. And with that, I think that we should just say thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who participated over the summer, who talked to us, who I know are going to reach out to us after they listen to this today and want to share some stories of success or even some challenges with us. We really believe that this is a problem that we can solve best together with people and our justice principles in mind. And so I hope that you will join us in this fight.